I want to just first of all begin by saying I want to appreciate all of the staff at Cal State Monterey Bay. I want to thank Danielle. I want to thank the entire team for giving me the opportunity to speak to your wonderful students. I just want to thank you so much. So wherever you are, if we can just give them a big round of applause, if we can give the entire team a big round of applause for putting on this event and for enabling us to be here today to do this incredible keynote presentation as we get to the end of this entire program. So I'm so excited to be here today. Before I do get started, I just want to give you a little bit of opportunity to know who I am. My name is Dr. Joshua Fredenberg, and I'm not only a national speaker, but I'm the author of 7 books and president of the Circle of Change Leadership Conference, which is ultimately a national conference that ultimately helps students discover the leader from within, develop the professional and career skills necessary to make an impact in the world, and ultimately the inspiration and the confidence to go out there and make a positive impact in their community, their nation, and their world. So I'm excited to be here today. We're going to get ready to get into the presentation. So if you can just get your seats ready, get your pen ready, get your notebook ready, and we're going to dive into this. So it was literally about 20 years ago when I was an incoming freshman at Long Beach State University. At the time, I was living in the Bay Area, and I got accepted into this wonderful institution. And I had a very clear dream, a really clear vision of what I wanted to do. Ultimately, what I wanted to do was I wanted to attend this university and I wanted to play basketball. And then ultimately, after I finished playing basketball in college, I wanted to go to the NBA. And then after my professional career, I wanted to become a sports broadcaster. So in essence, my dream from the moment that I set foot at Long Beach State University, it was number 1, to get into college. Number 2, make the basketball team. Number 3, graduate and go to the NBA. And then number 4, it was to be a sports broadcaster where I had the wonderful opportunity to speak all across the country. That was my dream, that was my vision, and that was my goal. And during this time, before I actually began the first day of college, I had to leave the Bay Area. I originally grew up in Northern California, went to school at Hogan High School in Vallejo, California. And literally, as I was making my journey down to Los Angeles, California, I had an incredible high school experience. My senior year was amazing. My junior year was amazing. I was in an incredible relationship. I had incredible family. I had incredible friends. And to be honest with you, my high school experience was incredible. And so when I was getting into my Toyota Corolla and I was getting ready to drive from Northern California all the way down to Southern California, to be quite honest with you, there was a little uncertainty. There was a little hurt. There was a little a pain that I was leaving everything to begin this new journey. But I knew that if I was going to succeed, if I was going to maximize my experience, as I was going to reach high levels of success, then I was going to have to let go of this incredible experience and step out and venture off to my college experience at Long Beach State University. And so I got into my Corolla and drove down the 405 freeway, and I ended up living on the campus at Long Beach State University, and I was getting ready to begin my first year, again, with a clear vision. I was going to make the team. I was going to graduate college. I was going to go to the NBA, and then I was going to become a sports broadcaster. And so ultimately, during the first few years, I was at Long Beach State. I was working on my game. I was working on my jump shot. And I was doing everything that I needed to do in order to make the basketball team. But after about 2 years, not only did me and my girlfriend break up, not only did I decide that I was going to live in Los Angeles, California for the rest of my life, not only did I meet new friends, and there were certain people that I was friends with in high school I wasn't really talking to anymore, but probably the most challenging moment for me at that moment was ultimately I did not make the basketball team. In essence, the dream that I had since I was 6 years old, the aspiration that I had, the reason that I was so encouraged and so inspired and so motivated to go to college, in a matter of 2 years, the dream was done. Just let that sink in for a moment. I had this dream. I had this vision. And after 2 years, I didn't make the team because a 6'10" guy walked through the door and they decided to go with the forward instead of going with me, which was the point guard. And this was a tough moment in my life, but thankfully, During this moment, I had a communications class. And in this communication class, I had to give my first presentation. So I was in the class and I was speaking and I was speaking and I was speaking. And at that moment, I decided that I wanted to be a motivational speaker. I decided that I want to pursue a career where I could travel the country and make an impact. And thankfully, at this moment of transition, at this moment of change, everything shifted in my life. Number one, I had a new major. Number two, I had a new vision. Number three, I began to meet new friends. Number four, I got an opportunity to graduate college. And then ultimately, I was traveling the country as a speaker. From there, I ended up getting married and having wonderful children. And I have a great family right now. And then from there, I ended up getting my doctoral degree from Nova Southeastern University right here in South Florida. In essence, I began to thrive. I began to grow. I began to succeed. I began to accomplish the things I wanted to accomplish. And more importantly, I began to position myself to make a greater impact. But most importantly, doing what I love to do, which is speaking and changing lives. But to be quite honest with you, the only reason why I believe that I was able to make this transition, the only reason I believe that I was able to position myself for greater success after I dealt with failure is because I learned how to implement the right strategies, implement the right concepts, and do the right things in a time of change and transition. In essence, the reason I was able to thrive, the reason I was able to succeed, and the reason I was able to grow is because I learned how to implement certain things that are required in order to succeed and thrive in a time of change and transition. And the reason I share that with you today is because number one, I believe you're destined for success. I believe you're going to have an incredible educational experience. I believe you're going to do some incredible things in the world. But what I do know is this, that when you begin your first year of college, when you begin this journey, when you begin your first class, when you meet those first group of students, the truth be told, as you evolve through your collegiate journey, there's going to be challenges, there's going to be obstacles, there's going to be a variety of things that you're not even aware that are going to happen. And if you're going to succeed, you have to be effective at thriving and succeeding in a time of change and transition. In essence, if you're going to reach your fullest potential, if you're going to maximize your collegiate experience, if you're going to thrive and succeed as a first generation student, then you're going to have to learn how to implement and how to apply certain principles of success that are required in order for us to thrive and to succeed in a time of change and transition. That is exactly what you're going to have to be able to do. And so ultimately, based on that, my goal today is really simple. What my goal today is I'm going to give you 4 concepts, 4 questions using the acronym LEAD that I believe that every college student in America or even in the world must consider if they're going to succeed, if they're going to thrive in a time of change and transition. In essence, as you begin this first year of school, as you begin this first year of your collegiate experience, you're going to be excited, you're going to be pumped up, you're going to be happy, but the truth be told, there's going to be moments where things are going to shift. There's going to be moments where things are going to change. There's going to be what I call different seasons of your collegiate experience. And in these moments, you're going to have to learn how to thrive and succeed in a moment of change and transition. And I'm going to talk to you about 4 things that I believe every college student in the world should consider using the acronym LEAD if you're going to thrive and succeed in these moments. So really quickly, if you can give me an air high five, you can get locked in as we're going to get ready to get into this, because I'm excited about what I'm getting ready to share with you as we begin to address these 4 questions using the acronym LEAD. If you can repeat after me, someone say LEAD. Someone say LEAD, and we'll say it one more time. Someone say LEAD. Question number 1. The first question you have to ask yourself, if you're going to thrive and succeed in a time of change and transition, is, have you looked within and created your future vision? In essence, the first question you got to ask yourself is, have you looked within? What does that mean? That means, have you looked within yourself and asked yourself, what are your strengths? What is your passion? What would you do for free? If money wasn't an issue, what career path would you take? What is your story? What are experiences that can enable you to create a vision or to create a career path that's going to make you happy, that's going to excite you, that's going to motivate you, and that's going to cause you to want to get up every single morning? The first question we got to ask ourselves if we're going to thrive and succeed in a time of change and transition is we got to ask ourselves the question, what type of vision, a clear, a concise, a captivating picture image of my future can I create out of the authentic being or the authentic person that I am in order to have a career that I love and that I'm passionate about? That's the first question that you have to ask. And the reason why we got to ask this question is because, number one, what I have found that the foundation of success is vision. In essence, I found that if you're going to be successful in life, if you're going to be successful in your relationship, if you're going to be successful academically, if you're going to be successful as a leader, if you're going to be successful in your career, the foundation of your success is vision. Number two, the reason why it's important is because when you have vision, again, it's a clear, concise, captivating Instagram picture of your future. When you have vision, it gives you direction, it gives you guidance, it gives you passion, it gives you meaning in life. But here's the catch, more importantly, it gives you hope in challenging situations. In essence, what I've discovered is change can be tough. Change can be unexpected. Things happen that you never would have expected. But in the midst of change, in the midst of confusion, in the midst of chaos, if I have a vision, if I have a picture of my future, it will help me to navigate. It will help me to stay motivated. It will help me to keep pushing and pushing and pushing through the challenges in order to make this vision a reality. This is critical for your success. Because as you'll discover, as I'm going to say over and over again, in this collegiate journey, you're going to face obstacles. Things are going to change from your sophomore to your junior year. You're going to have different responsibilities. Maybe you may become a student leader. Maybe you're going to have an internship, and there's going to be things that are going to happen. And despite whatever is changing in your life, one thing needs to be consistent, and it's your vision, it's your focus, and it's where you see yourself in the future. And Nelson Mandela believed in this so much. And if many of you if you do not know, Nelson Mandela was the former president of South Africa. And this is what he says. He says, action without vision is only passing time. I love this concept because he says you can do stuff, but if you don't have a vision, you'll just be going in circles. There's a lot of people that don't progress, that don't evolve, and that don't reach their fullest potential, not because they don't have a strong work ethic, not because they're not doing nothing, but because they don't have focus and they don't have vision. So he says, if you're going to have action, you got to have a vision. Then he goes on to say, vision without action is merely daydreaming. And I love this concept because what he says, you can have a vision, and that's important. He said, you got to have a vision. A vision is important. But if you don't do nothing with the vision, you're just in la la land. You're just envisioning. You're just looking at the sky. But then he goes on to say this. He says, but vision with action can change the world. In essence, what he says is this. He said, if I have a vision that is backed by action, I can change the world. If I have a vision that is backed by action, I can succeed in college. If I have a vision that is backed by action, I can reach my fullest potential. In essence, maybe you're here today and say, my vision is really simple, Josh. I want to graduate college. I want to be the first in my family to graduate college. Well, guess what? If you have a vision of that is backed in action, I promise you there's a good chance you'll make that a reality. Maybe someone says, you know what, Josh, I want to be a doctor. Awesome. If I have a vision of being a doctor and it's backed in action, there's a positive chance that you're actually going to be able to make that an actual reality. In essence, what we discover that if I have a vision that is backed in action, then not only am I able to change the world, but I'm able to succeed, I'm able to reach my fullest potential, and I'm able to make my parents proud, to make my school proud, and most importantly, make yourself proud of yourself, of your accomplishment and your hard work. But again, it begins with you having a vision. Now, there's a story that I love to share with people, and I learned about this story several years ago. Some say it took place at Cal Berkeley, and some people say that it took place at Princeton, and some people say that it took place at Yale. But I'm going to break this story down for you. So several years ago, there was this particular class, and this professor comes into the class, and when he comes into the class, there's a group of about 100 people in the class. And so he comes into the class, and he's observing the class, and he's scanning the class, looking all around the class, and he asks a simple question. And the simple question is this. He says, how many of you know what you want to do when you graduate? And so the class is quiet. No one is saying nothing. And then some people begin to raise their hand. And 87% of the people say, we have no idea what we want to do. And then another 10 raise their hand and they say, we know what we want to do. We have a vision. We have a dream. We know what we want to do in the future. And then there was 3 other people, and 3 other people raised their hand. And they said, not only do we know what we want to do, but we've written the vision out. In essence, in the class of 100 people, 87% of people didn't know what they wanted to do. 10% had a vision, and 3% had a vision and wrote it down. And so what they began to do is they began to follow this particular crowd. They began to follow these students after they graduated, after they began to matriculate into society or into their career of choice. And they found, number one, that those who had a vision were twice as successful as those who did not. In essence, they found that this first concept of having a vision or having an idea of what you want to do when you're in school is one of the key factors that determines who succeeds or who doesn't reach their fullest potential once they graduate. But then there was the 3% that not only had a vision but wrote it down. And what they discovered is the ones that actually had a vision and wrote it down, they were 10 times as successful as the others. In essence, not only were they successful, but watch this, they were 10 times as successful because they had a vision and they wrote it down. And the lesson that I learned from this particular story is really simple. That number one, if I'm going to succeed, if I'm going to reach my fullest potential, not only must I have a vision, important, but number two, I got to write the vision down. Maybe you want to write it down on a piece of paper. Maybe you want to create what I call a vision board where you have pictures and collages of the vision that you desire to create for yourself. Whatever you're trying to do, the key thing you have to understand is if I'm going to succeed, if I'm going to thrive, if I'm going to maximize my collegiate experience in a time of change, in a time of transition, then I got to look within. And I got to create a positive vision, a positive picture of my future. And so you're here right now and you're watching me and you say, Joshua, that sounds good. And it is good, but there's an action item I want you to take with you. Maybe you're going to do it right now, or maybe you're going to do it later. As you know, I sent the digital workbook to Danielle so that you at Cal State Monterey Bay can begin to do the program. So I already sent the workbook and the questions are in there, but this is what you want to do. The first thing you want to do is you want to begin to self-reflect. You want to look within yourself and you want to ask yourself 4 questions. Number one, what are your top 3 strengths? Number 2, what are the 3 things you're most passionate about? Number 4, what career would you do for free? Number 4, if money was not an issue, what would you do for free? And then after you answer those questions, you want to ask yourself the question, based on these things that you discovered about yourself, what career, what area of expertise, what path can you take that will enable you not only to live your passion, not only to do what you would do for free, but more importantly, you have the skill set and the gifting to thrive, to succeed, and reach your fullest potential in this specific area of expertise. This is the first question that we must consider in a time of change and transition. This is the first question. If we're going to thrive and succeed in our collegiate experience, this is the first question we got to ask ourselves. We got to ask ourselves the question, what are my strengths? What is my passion? What can I do for free? If money wasn't an issue, what career would I pursue? And out of that, what's my career choice? What's my vision? Write it down and begin to go after it. Begin to pursue it. Begin to connect with people. Begin to maximize every opportunity and your collegiate journey that is going to be available to you to make your vision an actual reality. This is the first step that I believe we must consider. The first question we must ask ourselves in a time of change and transition if we're going to thrive and succeed as a I call it a virtual or as a college student in the city. That's the first question we got to ask ourselves. And we're getting ready to go on to number 2. So out loud, someone say number 2. We'll do it again. Number 2. The second question you want to ask yourself is, can you eliminate the positive and the negative things that affect your growth? The second question you want to ask yourself, can you eliminate the positive and the negative things that could affect your growth? What do you mean? What I mean by this is, if you're going to thrive and succeed in a time of change and transition, number one, you have to be able to identify the negative things, the negative habits, the negative experiences, or the negative people that are potentially holding you back from reaching your fullest potential. But on the flip side, you also got to ask yourself the question, what are some good experiences? What are some good things? Who are some good people? What are some good situations that enable me to get this far that now I need to let go in order to reach my fullest potential? This is the question you have to ask yourself. And you say, well, Josh, why do I have to ask this question? Well, the reason you got to ask this question is because in a time of change, in a time of progression, in a time of evolution, you will find that certain things that are negative not only have the power to affect your progress, but I found even things that worked in one season or in one level of your life may not work in the next level of your life. And if you're going to grow, and if you're going to evolve, and if you're going to attain greatness in college, if you're going to attain greatness in your personal life, if you're going to attain greatness in relationships, if you're going to attain greatness in leadership, then there's going to have to be some positive and some negative things that you're going to have to be able to let go. As I tell my daughter, me and my daughter have this favorite song by Frozen, let it go, let it go. In essence, you got to be able to let it go. And it's one of the reasons I love this quote by T.D. Jakes. He says, and I quote, don't let your past experience destroy your future opportunities. He says, don't let your past affect your future. What do you mean? Sometimes it's unforgiveness. Sometimes it's habits. Sometimes it's insecurity. Sometimes it's failure. Sometimes it's rejection. Sometimes there are negative things that have transpired in our lives that stop us from actually moving forward. And T.D. Jakes says this. He says, if you're going to move forward, you're going to have to release some of the past experiences that were not always the most positive. Is there a negative experience that you need to let go? Is there a negative situation that you need to let go? Is there a negative person that you need to let go in order to go to the next level? This is the question that we have to ask ourselves. But Christine Kane says something even more powerful. She says, you must be able to get rid of the good in order to experience the great. She says sometimes in life, you got to get rid of the good to become the great. Because in certain seasons, good was awesome. Good was amazing. But in order to become great, there are certain things that were good that you have to let go of in order to become great. In essence, there's certain friendships that were amazing, but you need new friendships to go where you're going. There's certain habits or there's certain things that you may have done that were good, but in order to go to the next level, you're going to have to let some stuff go. It was good. It was awesome. But in order to evolve, I got to be able to let it go. There's a book by Jim Collins, and in the book he says From Good to Great. And it's a profound book, but one of the statements that I love about this book is Jim Collins says that good is an enemy of great. In essence, he goes on to say that good is an enemy of great because a lot of times it's the good things in our life that hold us back from the great things. Because remember, good is comfortable. Good is amazing. Good is awesome, but it's not great. Good is good, but it's not great. And normally the transition from good to great requires you to give up some things that are comfortable, some things that may have worked, some things that you may like. Sometimes you have to get rid of that stuff in order to evolve and in order to become great. And that's why in a season of change, in a season of transition, sometimes as we evolve, as we progress, as we go to higher levels, as we evolve to greater opportunities, there are certain things that worked at one level that won't work at the next level. In essence, there were some incredible things that may have worked for you in high school are not going to work for you in college. There were some incredible friends that were amazing in high school, but maybe you need another new friends for you to really do well once you get to college. There were some amazing mentors when you were in high school, but when you get to college, maybe you need some new mentors as well. In essence, what I have discovered is I have discovered that in a time of change and transition, if I'm going to thrive, if I'm going to succeed, I got to be able not only let go of the bad, but I got to be able to let go of the good as well. And I'll share a story with you. About 10 years ago, I had aspirations of pursuing my doctoral degree in organizational leadership. I'll never forget. I was in Long Beach, California at the time, and I was traveling the country as a speaker, and life was awesome and life was amazing. And I was sitting down at my desk and I felt inspired to go get my doctoral degree. But one of the things I realized is that if I was going to pursue my doctoral degree, I wasn't going to be able to be the traditional student. You say, what is the traditional student? The traditional student is where you're going to class every day, where you're involved with the campus community, and you're talking to your professors, you're talking to your peers, you're talking to everyone within the campus community. You're going to school on a weekly basis. That was a traditional form of education for me, and that's what I did for my bachelor's, and that's what I did for my master's, and it was amazing, and I loved it. I loved the communication. I loved the face-to-face. I loved getting to know people. I loved the entire collegiate experience. But here it is. In order for me to obtain my doctoral degree, I was not going to be able to be a traditional student. I had to go virtual. And what that meant is I wasn't going to be on campus as much. I wasn't going to be interacting with my professors as much. I wasn't going to have a designated time every week. Everything was shifting. Everything was new. In essence, in order for me to reach a higher level of collegiate success, a higher level of scholarly success, I was going to have to I was going to have to thrive and succeed in a time of change and transition. But in the process of evolving during this time of change and transition, there were some negative things I was going to have to let go, and there were some positive things that I was going to have to let go. Now you say, what do you mean? Let's deal with the negative things. So one of the negative things for me is when I was in undergrad in my master's program, my father once told me that the key to succeeding in college is understanding what your professor requires in order to maximize your success in the classroom. Now, again, I'm just being very transparent, and I would have classes where the professor would give us like 7 different books, and that's a lot of reading. To be quite honest with you, I had so much going on, I was unable to read. But what I would do is I would listen, and I would listen to people, and I would work with people, and I would read certain things that I needed in order to do good in the class. And ultimately, based on this skill set that may not always be good on certain levels, but worked on this level, enabled me to thrive and succeed as a college student. Another thing that I did when I was an undergrad or in a master, I didn't talk to my counselors at all. Literally, I was never talking to my counselors. I was just focused, and I was just doing what I had to do. And the reason that I was able to do that is because I had so many other mentors, and I had so many other friends that I could talk to instead. And it worked for me on this level, but it may not work for me on this level. So these were some of the things that I did as a traditional student. And then if I had a question, I didn't have to go to office hours. I didn't have to email the professor much. I could just ask them questions in class. I could ask them questions before class. And so it really worked for my schedule. It really worked for me. But again, as I was transitioning to become a virtual student, things were about to change. You say, well, why are they going to change? Well, number one, I didn't have access to a professor as much. I didn't have access to a professor. So more so I had to depend on the relationships that I made virtually in order to really figure out what was going on in the classroom. I had to connect with people. I was online. I didn't have discussions in person. And for me, it's more effective and conducive for me to have open discussion. But with the virtual class, the discussions were more online. So that was different. But again, in order for me to reach my fullest potential, I had to learn how to transition from in-classroom discussions and deal with virtual session. Another thing, remember I said earlier, I didn't really talk to my counselors, but virtually I began to talk to my counselors, because one of the things that I learned is my counselors were aware of the best teachers. They were aware of the best professors that would enable me to thrive and succeed. And see, when I was an undergraduate, I would talk to my friends, I would talk to my community, which was very, very valuable. But now, because I didn't have those relationships, I wasn't part of those organizations, I didn't have those mentors that were juniors and seniors, I had to rely on my counselor. So I met my counselor a lot more than I did. And then in my second year, I ended up failing the class. And the reason I failed the class is because I was using some of my study habits based on my undergrad that were not as effective at my doctoral level. And I had to make a shift in that area as well. And because I was able to identify these areas that I need to work on and let them go and then include the right things, what ended up happening is not only did I never fail a class again, not only did I ever have a problem with the class, but ultimately I attained my doctoral degree as a virtual doctoral student, because I was able to eliminate the negative and the positive things that were necessary in order for me to reach my fullest potential. And now you're sitting here saying, Joshua, what are you saying? What I'm saying in the action item is really simple. That if you're going to thrive and if you're going to succeed in a time of change, in a time of transition, then what you're going to have to be able to do is you're going to have to be able to identify the negative things I got to let go or the positive things I need to let go as you matriculate through the collegiate experience in order to attain your vision and in order to attain your greatness. As I said earlier, there's certain habits, there's certain friends that got you to this point. But in order for you to graduate, in order for you to reach your fullest potential, there's going to be some new things that you're going to have to incorporate. There's going to have some good things you're going to have to let go. There's going to be some negative things you're going to have to let go. And if you can be disciplined, I want to say this word discipline, because it may not happen today, but it may happen 2 years, it may happen 3 years as you change, as you evolve, as you become greater, as you reach your fullest potential. It's really important that you're identifying the positive and the negative things that you need to let go in order to reach your fullest potential. I was going to show you this earlier, but I'm going to go back to it right now in the beginning, because I was going to show this earlier, but I'm going to go back to it right now. So this is a picture of the Circle of Change Leadership Conference. And this is the very first year that we did it in 2010. This is a conference we've been doing for 10 years, but this was the very first year. And you see this picture, and I'm going to tell you, I was so excited about this conference. This conference was amazing. I mean, we had Devon Franklin. We had incredible students. People were impacted. People were transformed. It was incredible. If this never happened, we would not be where we are today. We're doing 10 conferences. But this is year number 9. And in year number 9, as you can tell, there's more students, there's more lights, it looks better, it's more impactful, it's evolved, it's grown, and it's in a good place right now. And the reason it's in a good place right now, watch this, is because although it was amazing the first year, although students loved it, although it was incredible, we began to evolve, we began to progress. We began to change as a conference, as a team, as a leader. And there were positive things that we kept, and there were positive things that we took away. And there were negative things that we had to get rid of. And there were challenges that we had to face. But in this process of change and transition, we've been able to thrive, and we've been able to succeed, and we're growing, and we're growing, and we're growing. Watch this, because we've been able to identify and to eliminate the positive and the negative things that were stopping us from reaching our greatness. And so as we look at our college campuses, and many of you are getting ready to start, and you've grown up in a traditional form where you're going to school, but now you may be beginning this next year where you're a virtual college student, where everything may be online. That's different. It's a new experience. It poses new challenges. It poses new obstacles. In the midst of this situation, here's the key. Identify what negative attitudes, what negative mindsets, what negative habits do I need to let go in order to embrace this change? And what things work in person that may not work virtually that I need to let go of in order to position myself for success as a virtual, what I say, hybrid college student? This is the second question that I believe every student in America should consider and take with them if they're going to thrive and succeed and maximize their collegiate experience in the midst of change and transition. These are the first two questions that I believe need to be considered. Real quick, give me a high five. I want you to know we are halfway done. We're getting ready to move to the last two concepts for this presentation. If we're going to thrive and succeed in a time of change and transition as a college student. The third thing we got to ask ourselves is this, are you able to effectively adapt to different people, situations, and seasons in your life? We talked about letting stuff go, but the next question is, can you adapt? Can you modify? Can you change your way of doing things in different situations, with different professors, and even in different seasons of your life in order to thrive, succeed, and reach your fullest potential as a college student? See, this is the reality. When you begin school as a freshman, everything is new. Everything is brand new. New school, new classes, new professor, maybe living in a new city. But then when you get to your sophomore year, there's going to be some changes. Maybe you decide to join an organization. Maybe you got a part-time job. Maybe you decide to get an internship, which I highly recommend you to do. Maybe you have a relationship. There's a variety of things that are going to change in your life. It's going to make your schedule to adapt. And then when you become a junior, there's going to be new responsibilities. Maybe you become a campus leader. Maybe now you have an internship and a job and involved on campus and you're doing your studies. And then after that, you're going to go to your fourth year and you're going to be in a position to graduate. And there's going to be more change because now you're not just thinking about collegiate success, but now you're thinking about career success and getting the right job and positioning yourself for success. And so as you matriculate through the collegiate experience, you'll find there's different seasons, there's different challenges, there's different circumstances. And as you evolve, you got to adapt. Maybe you got to change the people that surround you. Maybe you got to change different circumstances. Maybe you got to change your schedule. Maybe you got to change your habits. Maybe you got to change your responsibility. There's all these changes that students have to evolve and move and navigate and adjust through in order to thrive and succeed as a college student. There's all this stuff going on. It's consistent change, consistent movement. But in the midst of all that, if I can become adaptable, if I can adapt, I can navigate, I can overcome, I can make the right adjustments to position myself for success. If I'm going to thrive and I'm going to succeed in a time of change and transition, I got to be adaptable. Now, Josh, why is it important? It's so important. It's so important. Because not only are things changing, I mean, things are changing consistently. As I shared earlier, and I shared with another audience earlier, I explained to them that Facebook was created in 2004. That means there were students and there were professionals before social media became a hit that were doing fine, that were living life, that were maximizing their success, maximizing their opportunities. But what we found is because of the creation of Facebook, of Instagram, of TikTok, of YouTube, of Periscope, of Zoom, and all these tech and social media platforms, because of the creation, now we have to adapt and we have to learn how to use them. I've been doing in-person presentations for 15 plus years, but because of COVID-19 and because of the circumstances in our nation right now, I've had to adjust and adapt and pivot and still do what I'm doing on camera and virtually, and still look forward to having the same impact that I was having as I was having in person. In essence, it's important that you're able to adapt if you're going to thrive and succeed in a time of change and transition, because here's the truth. If you're not able to adapt, if you're not able to adjust, if you're not able to modify, if you're not able to make changes in this evolution, in this growth, in order to reaching your fullest potential as a student, as a professional, or even as a leader, it gets very, very, tough. Becomes tough to succeed. Becomes tough to reach your fullest potential. Becomes tough to acquire the greatness that is on the inside of you. And it's one of the reasons I love this quote. It's so powerful. It's by Max McCone. He says, and I quote, he says, all failure is failure to adapt. All failure is failure to adapt. It's so true. And I always tell people this famous quote, that failure is a preparation for success. Because all failure does is failure shows you what you need to modify and what you need to improve in order to succeed the next time. And then it goes on to say all success is successful adaptation. In essence, if I'm going to succeed as a student, if I'm going to succeed as a professional, if I'm going to succeed in my career, if I'm going to succeed and reach my fullest potential, then I got to be able to adapt to different people, to different professors, to different ways of thinking, to different schedules, to different ways of doing things, even different cultures, even different environments. I got to be able to adapt in order to reach my fullest potential. I love this quote here. I think it's good. It says, the pessimistic complains about the wind. The optimist expects it to change. Here it goes. The realist adjusts its sail. In essence, whether it's bad or whether it's good, the person that continues to move forward adjusts to both. They adjust to the good and they adjust to the bad. And as a college student, that is going to go through a lot of changes and a lot of transitions, you're going to have to be able to adapt. And I got a story I want to share with you. So here's a picture of me speaking on a college campus in Boston, Massachusetts. But again, what I shared earlier is when I first came to school, I had no aspiration to be a speaker. As a matter of fact, my aspiration was to be an NBA basketball player. I was going to be playing NBA, and I was going to play for the Los Angeles Lakers, which I'm still a Laker fan. Hello. And then I was going to be a sports broadcaster. That was my dream. That was my vision. That was my aspiration. And as I share with you, when I tried out for the team, I got cut. I got cut because a 6'10" guy walks through the room, 6'10", and I decided to take the tall person instead of the short person. And at that moment, I thought my entire dream was dead. But ultimately, as I shared with you earlier, I had a communications class, and I identified my gift. And once I identified my gift, I identified my passion. And once I identified my passion, I discovered what I would love to do for free. And then I had a vision to change the world. And once I made that pivot, once I was able to adapt from having a dream to be a basketball player to now pursuing this motivational speaking career, because I was able to adjust in a time of change and transition, not only did I graduate, not only did I thrive, not only did I succeed, but today I'm living my dream. Today I'm able to impact people's lives. Today I'm able to provide value in people's lives, because when I was a college student, when I was in your shoes, when I was a sophomore in school and life hit, unexpected challenges hit, distractions hit, failure hit, and rejection hit, because of my ability to adapt, to pivot, and to adjust, ultimately, I was able to reach my fullest potential. And so the third question is, can you adapt to different people, situations, or seasons in order to reach your fullest potential? Now, again, before I begin to move on, this is the question you got to ask yourself. Again, as I said earlier, I sent Danielle the digital workbook. And this is the question you got to ask yourself. If you're going to be able to adapt, there's three things you got to ask yourself. Number one, you got to be clear about your vision. Because just because you're evolving, just because you're changing, just because you're making adjustments, does not mean that you have to stop pursuing that vision. You just have to be flexible. So adaptation means I'm flexible. I'm making adjustments. I'm making changes in order to reach my fullest potential. Being adaptable means I'm consistently learning. I'm consistently gathering information. I'm consistently doing the things that are necessary in order to learn what I need to do in order to reach my fullest potential. If you're going to succeed in college, if you're going to maximize your success in a time of change and transition, a time of uncertainty, got to be flexible. Got to consistently learn. Since I'm a virtual student this year because of COVID-19, okay, how can I be an effective virtual student? What changes do I need to make? What habits do I need to change? What type of environment do I need to create at home so I have a safe space where I can actually study? What technological changes do I need to make? Because that's an important one as well. These are questions you got to ask yourself, and you got to be clear about, and you got to learn about, and you got to be willing to do that may not always feel good. And this is important. It may not feel good. But you got to make the changes. You got to make the tough changes to position yourself for collegiate success. If you're going to thrive and succeed in a time of change and transition, as a college student, as a freshman, you have to be adaptable. You have to be adaptable. Now we're getting into our last point for this presentation, and the last point is real simple. The last point is this: it's, have you developed courageous faith? My last question: if you're going to thrive, if you're going to succeed as a freshman student, as a first-year student, in a time of change and transition, the next question you got to ask yourself, this question, is, do you have courageous faith? What is courageous faith? Courageous faith is an ability to think, speak, and act on what you believe despite the challenge, despite the obstacles that will appear and that stand between you and your desired vision. I'm going to say it again. In essence, you may have a vision to graduate. You may have a vision to be a doctor. You may have a vision to be a lawyer, maybe an engineer, maybe create a video game, maybe be a sports broadcaster, maybe be a filmmaker, and that's incredible. And I want you to keep that vision. I want you to keep that vision clear. But understand, with the vision, there's going to be changes, there's going to be transition, there's going to be obstacles, there's going to be haters, there's going to be moments where you're going to feel insecure, there's going to be moments where you're going to have a little fear at some level, there's going to be moments where you're going to have pressure, there's going to be moments where you're going to have what I call imposter syndrome, where you're not sure. There's going to be all these different things that are going to transpire in your life. But I have found that the people that succeed, the people that thrive, the people that reach their fullest potential are able to do so, watch now, because they're able to think, speak, and act on what they believe despite the challenges. In essence, they are able to incorporate what I call courageous faith. In essence, when everyone says I can't, yes, I can. In essence, when my challenge and my circumstance seem like failure, yes, I can. In essence, when I feel insecure or I have imposter syndrome, yes, I can. In essence, when it's uncertain and I'm not sure what the outcome is going to be, yes, I can. This is courageous faith. And it's one of the reasons I love this comment by Gandhi. It's Gandhi, and there's another people that say it, and this is what they say. They say, watch your thoughts, for your thoughts become your words. Watch your words, for your words become your actions. Watch your actions, for your actions become your habits. Watch your habits, for your habits become your character. Here it comes. And watch your character, because your character becomes your destiny. Notice something. It starts with your thoughts. It starts with your words and with your actions. And if you don't watch your thoughts, if you don't watch your words, if you don't watch your actions, ultimately, it begins to affect your destiny. It affects you from reaching your fullest potential. It affects you from reaching your vision. It affects you from reaching your dream. It affects you from becoming the leader, the graduate, the exceptional professional, the incredible relationship partner, father, mother that you are destined to be. If I'm going to succeed in these seasons of change and transition, I gotta have courageous faith. And I'm gonna share a story with you, and I wanna share this with you today because it's a true story, and I'll never forget. Back on March 12th, 2020, I was on a plane coming from Los Angeles to Miami, and I get a phone call from a good friend of mine from Johnson and Wales University, and she calls me and said, we're gonna have to cancel your presentation. And she said, with complete sadness, we got to cancel. We were so excited because of COVID-19. And literally 72 hours later, we had a national conference we were hosting in New York that following, well, about 2 weeks that got canceled. All of my speaking engagements for the fall got canceled. And it was just shut down because of COVID-19. And at that point, I had a lot of things that were going through my mind. Not only was I worried about getting the disease, not only was I worried about my family, not only was I worried about my children, but I was worried about how I was going to provide. Because I tell people, if I don't speak, I don't eat, because a lot of our survival is based on me speaking and giving presentations. And with everything shut down and with no clarity, with no direction, there was a lot of uncertainty. There was a lot of anxiety. There was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of irritation. There was a lot of frustration. There was a lot of things that were going on. And it was frustrating, and it was fearful, and it was uncertain, and it was hurtful. The fact that I couldn't see my daughter for 3 months because I couldn't get on a plane. The fact that I've been doing something for 15 years and it seemed as if there was a possibility that I would never be speaking, or I was going to go out of business because of a disease. And all these thoughts were going through my mind, and all these things were happening. And I made a decision, because I talked about that I was going to have courageous faith. Although I didn't feel like getting up some days, although I didn't feel like working some days, although I felt like just sitting down, when just stressed out, or you're not feeling good, you don't want to do that. You want to sit there and just watch TV all day. And I know there's probably some people that did this for about a month. And I understand, man, it's tough. For those that lost family members, it's even tougher. And I was there. I was agitated. But if I'm going to talk about courageous faith, I got to activate it in my life. And that's what I did. And I made up in my mind I was going to begin to work on my mental. I was going to do the things I need to do to make sure that I keep my mind positive. Sometimes I had to shut off the television, shut off the news, take a walk, just go out there and drive, eat something I love, chill with my family. I had to do something. Second thing I had to do, I had to make sure I watched my language. No matter how mad I was, no matter how upset I was, no matter how much fear or negativity that was going through I couldn't stop speaking positive. I had to act. I had to keep working. I had to keep pushing. I had to keep learning. I had to figure out how I was going to maneuver through this situation. And what I was able to do is I began to learn about virtual presentations. I began to learn about a variety of different things. I began to grow. I began to become more disciplined, more stronger as a person. And now as I look 4 months down the line, not only have I been able to sustain myself and my family financially, not only do I have a new book coming out in September, not only do I have a whole virtual studio up, not only are me and my family closer together than ever before, not only are we growing and we evolving like never before, but more importantly, I'm in a better position today than I was back in March. I know it's hard to say that, but I'm there. And it's not out of pride or just, it's none of that. The reason I'm sharing this with you in all humility is because I was able to activate courageous faith. And what I learned from this experience is life is going to throw things at you. Man, COVID is throwing things at us, right? Obstacles and challenges and uncertainty and fear and anxiety and irritation and frustration and hurt and pain. Man, we've been bombarded with so much stuff. And then the unknown. When is this going to end? When are we going to go back to normal? Is there going to be a normal? All this stuff. And then the news every day, someone's dying. Every day, things are happening. In the midst of all that, you still got to have courageous faith. You still got to speak. You still got to work on your wellness mentally. You still got to work on your actions. And you got to continue to move forward. And this is not only something we're facing right now as a nation, this is going to happen in life. As a college student, as a student at your university, life is going to change. Life is going to evolve. Stuff is going to happen. And I believe because of what I learned when I was in your shoes, when I was a freshman, when I was a sophomore, when I was in a challenging position, because of what I learned, I've been able to take those same principles to this moment and navigate and position myself for success. And this is a picture of the new virtual studio. This is literally what has been created. This is what I'm speaking out of right now as I share this message with you. And it's why I have been able to thrive and succeed in a time of change and transition. I'm getting ready to close out this presentation. I'm getting ready to close out this presentation today. And maybe you're watching today, and wherever you are, I want to first of all let you know that you can consider me a big brother. I want you to know that you can consider that I'm going to be here for you. And whatever you need, I'm always here for you to respond. I'm always here for a question. I'm always here to help you. And so if you're there today and you're a student at Cal State Monterey Bay and you're a first generation student, and maybe this is the first time you're hearing this message, and maybe we've never met in person, maybe we've never met through different social media platforms, but I want you to know that I have your back. I want you to know that I believe greatness is inside of you. I want you to know that I believe that you are destined for success, and I'm here forever to help you out. Just connect me on LinkedIn, Instagram, or Facebook. I'm here to help you forever. Number two, I want to thank Danielle, and I want to thank the entire team so much, first of all, for your patience, for working with the challenges we had. I mean, for those listening, you may not know, but we had a live presentation and the sound was not good. We worked through that, but I had to adjust, I had to adapt, had to get back and do this presentation all over again so I can deliver a quality product to an incredible person, to an incredible institution, and to incredible people that have worked with me, that gave me the opportunity to speak, and have been patient with me through this challenge that happened today. And I just want to appreciate y'all. I want to thank y'all so much. And I just want you to know I'm so grateful. And the third thing is we have some people that are watching me right now, first generation students, upward bound, Cal State Monterey Bay. Listen, you have greatness on the inside of you. You're destined for success. You're going to make an impact in the world. I believe that with all of my heart. You're going to make an impact in the world. But hear what I'm saying right now. If you're going to thrive and succeed in times of change and transition, as you evolve, as you navigate and grow and progress as a first-year student, as a first-generation student, never forget these 4 questions. Have you looked within to create the positive picture or vision of your future that is in you? Number 2, have you eliminated the positive and the negative experiences that could be hindering you from reaching your fullest potential? Number 3, are you able to adapt effectively to different situations, people, and seasons of your life as a college student? And then number 4, have you developed the courageous faith that is necessary to overcome the challenges and the obstacles that exist in times of change and transition? This is the question that you have to consider in your journey. I believe you're going to answer the questions. I believe you're going to respond to the questions. And I believe with all of my heart, if you implement these questions, if you implement these principles, you're going to reach your fullest potential as a student, as a person, as a leader, and a professional. Greatness is on the inside of you. And I want to thank you so much for taking this time to be with me today. I want to thank you so much for taking this time to listen to this video. But more importantly, be the change that you wish to see in the world that will enable you to make a positive impact in your community, your nation, and your world. Thank you so much.